Brian here with another G-Tank episode. Just wanted to share with everybody something that we tried in the tank. My wife has a slight Blenny addiction. You can see we've got our orange spot Blenny down here. And before we had him, we of course had the lawnmower Blenny back here. What we didn't realize, lawnmower Blenny had been in there for a long time, and you can see he just got chased off the center return by the yellow eye Kultang, because that whole overflow is the Kultangs as far as he's concerned. What we didn't know when we originally got the lawnmower Blenny was that the starry Blenny even existed, and just how beautiful it is. We went back and forth on whether or not we were going to try it. This guy, our lawnmower Blenny, pretty cool fish. Always looks grumpy, of course, but really not that aggressive. He showed a little bit of aggression to this real cool orange spot Blenny here, but as long as the orange spot stayed down here, everything was great. We could not find anything on the internet to help us out as far as whether or not a lawnmower Blenny and a starry Blenny would work in the same tank. And just everything was, choose one or the other. And a couple of our local fish shops, they were like, well, I probably wouldn't do it if it was my tank. You could try it. It may or may not work. It's the whole thing, which isn't a cop-out by them at all, but it's the whole thing of, it's a fish-by-fish basis. And we decided last night to go ahead and add the starry Blenny. And what we did was we acclimated them, but we didn't put them in until lights out, and we waited to see what was going to happen this morning, because the prospect of catching a lawnmower Blenny or a starry Blenny after they're in the tank, at least for me, was just not something that was going to happen, So we had to take it was a calculated risk. And we did that, and we woke up this morning, we're having our coffee at 5 a.m., and the lights are just starting to come up and everything, and well, is there going to be a war? Isn't there going to be a war? Everything was beautiful. They just got along. They actually sat. There's the starry Blenny right down there. I've been waiting for them to come out so I can show them off. They actually sat on the sand and on a couple of rocks together, and there were no issues. Starry Blenny is kind of taking over a rock up in here next to this big old grumpy goby back here. And he's kind of made that his own, but there haven't even been like territory issues, because you can see the lawnmower Blenny is up here on top of the rock. And I'm sorry for the lights right now, they're not turning out real well on the camera. But long story short, everything's worked out with these two guys. I can't tell you that I would recommend anybody do it. If you did, there's a couple of things that we've tried with the wrasses and the tangs. That is, if you've got one that's in there already, and in a bigger, obviously in a bigger tank, it's a 150-gallon tank. If you got one in there already that's established, you can add a bigger one. Sometimes that will work. We did that with sailfin tang, because the yellow tang was already in here, and the yellow tang was a real jerk, and the sailfin tang was twice the size. The other thing you can do is, like with my wrasses, like my wife's Blenny addiction, I've got a wrasse addiction. I went ahead and had some established wrasses in the tank, and what we did was add 2 at a time, and we're going to do that again actually with some red tail tamarin wrasses and a Christmas wrasse. We're going to try and put 2 of the red tails in and the Christmas wrasse at the same time. That has worked out really well for us. But back to my point, I'm not sure I would recommend to anybody that you do the lawnmower Blenny and the starry Blenny. I think it's a totally fish by fish basis, and from what I've been told, some of the lawnmower Blennies can just really get aggressive, and they will get to the point that they kill them. So that's your call. If you were going to do it, I would say stack the odds in your favor and put them both in at the same time, and do it at dark. Do it early in your tank. You will run into some issues, like I showed you earlier. You saw that Kultang, he's real possessive of that overflow box and the algae that's on it. But overall, the tank is very peaceful. Couldn't have had a better result if we tried. And like to think prayer helped a little bit with that and putting them in at night. So anyway, like I said, there wasn't a lot of information out there before. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, go ahead and hit subscribe on the playlist for the G-Tank. Thanks a lot.